Well, for the first time since he signed his 4-year contract with the Preds, Ryan O'Reilly is in Nashville talking about the reason he signed with the Preds and why he is an ideal fit for where this team is right now. We'll hear from him. Plus, we'll go over the 3 NHL teams that have improved the most this summer so far. That's today on the Locked On Predators podcast.
Your Locked On Predators, your daily podcast on the Nashville Predators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making the Locked On Predators podcast your first listen of the day every single day. We are your free daily Nashville Predators podcast available to you wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And as always, I want to start out with a special hello tip of the cap to you loyal Locked On Pred heads out there, the everydayers who tune into every single show. We love you guys and we appreciate the support you guys give us each and every week. I'm Nick Morgan. I'm a writer at penaltyboxradio.com. Normally I have a partner in crime, but Ann Kimmel has the day off. Coming up in a little bit, we are going to go over the 3 teams in the NHL who I think have improved the most this offseason so far. And this is going to be an interesting discussion because there's some teams that a lot of people say might have improved. A lot of people said might have gotten worse. So we're going to go through and see those teams who have really taken the big next step forward. That's coming up in just a second. But first, our main headline in Smashville today is Ryan O'Reilly finally in town a week after signing his 4-year, $4.5 million per year deal with the Nashville Predators. He's been in town for the past week with his family searching for a house because, you know, when you move to a new city, that's, I guess, kind of the first thing you need to do is figure out where to live. But Ryan O'Reilly spoke with the media, did have some good comments and good stories. There is a lot of good stuff from, you know, him in his reunion with his brother Cal, who old school Preds fans know that name very well, Cal O'Reilly. A very popular young player back in the late 2000s, early 2010s with the Preds. He's back with the organization too, with the Milwaukee Admirals. Ryan had some good stories about the moment they found out they were both going to be back in the same organization. Also, the reaction of their parents when they found that out. He also has some good stuff on reuniting with Tyson Barrie, who he played with in Colorado years ago when they were both coming up through that organization, and also Luke Shen, who he played with last year. But the number one question a lot of people had was, hey man, why'd you choose the Nashville Predators? That's a big question because Ryan O'Reilly was one of the best free agent names on the market. I think TSN had him 4th on the best available list going into the summer. And there's a lot of people that thought, you know, we saw how Ryan O'Reilly played with the Leafs at the end of last year. Look like that Ryan O'Reilly from a few years ago that won the Conn Smythe, you know, still in good form. He would be a perfect fit, you know, for a team like the Dallas Stars or New Jersey Devils or Carolina Hurricanes, you know, sort of that team packed with young talent that maybe just needs that one veteran guy to kind of shore up the middle of that lineup and really push the people ahead of them to kind of be their best selves. But instead, Ryan O'Reilly goes to Nashville, a team that a lot of people not quite sure what they're going to be next year. Even some of our own fans think this is going to be the start of a very long rebuilding process. Why would Ryan O'Reilly want to be a part of that when he can go to, you know, a team more adept to winning now? So that was one of the big questions Ryan O'Reilly faced. And he said it has a lot to do with how the Preds finished last year. And it might have changed his perspective on maybe this team's future a little bit.
It was impressive. Obviously, I think, you know, the injuries got some and get to see, you know, thinking they would kind of fall off and, you know, kind of fizzle out, seeing the youth kind of take control and bring this team and almost make playoffs was very impressive. And I think that's something that not only caught my eye, but everyone's eye, that there is, you know, some great talent coming up here. And Definitely, it's special. For myself, I don't like to look at numbers. I think it's competing and doing things the right way, and things unfold. I think as a group, we have great leadership. We have great young pieces. Why can't we contend? Why can't we? And it's a long year, but it's preparing in the summer, doing things the right way, and we get into camp and we start to build a foundation, and we keep adding to it.
Yeah, why can't we contend? I mean, I can think of a couple of reasons off the top of my head, but that's not important. I like the sentiment from Ryan O'Reilly there. You like what he's saying about maybe the perception changing of the Nashville Predators around the league, and maybe this season kind of being an intriguing year, and maybe Ryan O'Reilly kind of wants to get on the ground floor of that and build up. I mean, you heard what Ryan O'Reilly said. Like, there's already some really good talent here. He mentioned Roman Josi as a guy, especially said he is really glad he doesn't have to chase him around the ice anymore. You also got Philip Forsberg up front as well. But Ryan O'Reilly talked a lot about the young forwards as well. Guys like Tommy Novak and Luke Evangelista that had a big season. As an older player, you do have to be energized at the thought of playing with players like that, hungry young players who are just getting into the league, not even close to hitting their prime yet. And not only playing alongside them, but also helping them grow. And that was a big thing that Ryan O'Reilly is going to talk about more in a little bit. But yeah, you like hearing that from a player about the perception of the Nashville Predators and how things are changing a little bit. I think there's a lot of people around the league that, this time in January thought, well, that Nashville Predators rebuild is going to be rough. This is a team that is going to have some down seasons. And then you saw what they did towards the end of the year, where a lot of the younger guys stepped up. Even guys like UC Saros stonewalled some teams and brought them closer to contention. So if you're Ryan O'Reilly, you have to look at that and maybe think, this team might not be as far off as I previously thought. Plus, we got UC Saros, who almost took a very mid team to the playoffs last year. Now he's got some talent around him. Now he's got a healthy Roman Josi and Philip Forsberg. Are we sure this isn't a playoff team? And I think that's the question Ryan O'Reilly asked himself, and maybe other teams across the NHL are asking themselves that same question. And I think it's going to be an interesting topic. And as we get closer to training camp, I think the Predators are certainly going to be a team that's under the microscope a little bit more. The other big thing is what Ryan O'Reilly actually brings to the Nashville Predators as a player. We hear about him as a culture piece and all that good stuff, but what does he bring to the team on the ice? What's his style of play going to be like, especially with new coach Andrew Brunette? Ryan O'Reilly talked about that a little bit, and so we're going to get to that in just a second. Plus, the three teams in the NHL that I think have improved the absolute most this offseason so far. All that coming up in just 1 second. But first, want to mention today's episode are brought to you by Athletic Greens and their product, AG1. Let's face it, folks. All of us want to be healthy. I can't think of anybody that would be like, oh yeah, let's be unhealthy. Everybody wants to be healthy. Everybody wants to be in shape. But let's be honest, getting there kind of sucks, right? There's all these different pills and supplements you have to take. One nutritionist might say, you need this, you need this, you need this. And it can get very expensive and very confusing. And by the end, you just kind of want to, throw it all away and give up. Well, that's why AG1 is the perfect start to your morning. All it is one scoop in a cup of water each and every day. That's it. All you need is just that one scoop, and you are absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens that help you support your energy, focus, strength, and clarity. It's a micro habit that delivers macro benefits and helps just about everybody take care of your health all day, every day. It's paleo, vegan, all that good stuff. It fits into pretty much any sort of nutritional thing or restrictions you may have. It couldn't be more easy to get your day started right and to ensure yourself with the ultimate all-in-one nutritional insurance. So try it yourself. If you need something like this, if you want to streamline all of your morning habits, then try AG1. And when you do, you can get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is go to drinkag1.com/NHL network. Again, that's drinkag1.com/NHL network. Go check it out. All right, we're talking about Ryan O'Reilly coming back to the Nashville Predators, or I guess just coming to the Nashville Predators. We talked about him and his perception of the team, but what is Ryan O'Reilly's role going to be just on and off the ice? You hear Barry Trotz call him, a quote unquote culture piece. What exactly does that mean? And Ryan O'Reilly addressed that a little bit, and he had a good breakdown of both on the ice and off the ice, kind of what some of the younger players on the team can expect from him.
I think it changes as the year goes on. I think reading the group too and understanding what needs to happen at the right time, but I think on the ice I can be very vocal. In the room too, I try to be vocal there too, but lead by example in many ways. I think it's a whole combination of everything. And I think I can bring that in many ways, and also think hopefully grow in more ways in that sense. Like I said, I kind of build my game from the defensive zone out, or, without the puck, and the offense comes from there. And, I think this team, over the years of playing against them, it is a tough team to play against. And that's something I want to, add on top of. I want to be difficult on whoever I'm playing against, and build it from there. I think the older you get, the more you have to establish is just the details, and not just, in one area. It's every area, and continue to develop. I think I look at myself, I still have a lot of ways to grow my game and get better. And I think, young guys, that's something they have to understand too. You have to keep getting better in all aspects. And I think that's one of the reasons I'm here, is to help, kind of help teach that and help guys, develop that way.
Yeah. Mike Babcock at one point had a very good quote when talking about Nick Lindstrom. He said, as you get older, a lot of pros get bored with the process. Sort of every little, the routines they have to do every day to kind of keep their games in check. A lot of players get bored with that. And what made Nick Lindstrom such a great player in Mike Babcock's mind was that Nick Lindstrom didn't get bored with that. He embraced it each and every day. It became part of his life. And that's kind of the same vibe that I get from Ryan O'Reilly when he, talked about that, making sure, players are kind of following their own process and, their own ways of getting better each and every game. You heard Ryan O'Reilly say, he said, like, I'm 32. I'm still developing my game here. Like, I'm not done yet. Sometimes you need a player like that to lead by example. And we always hear, the old adage, actions speak louder than words. We hear about this in sports. Anybody can be, vocal in the locker room. Anybody can kind of be that guy that says something when the team is down. It's one thing to say it. It's another thing to show it. So if you have a player like Ryan O'Reilly that's 32, that's already won a Conn Smythe, that's already won a Stanley Cup, that's already did he win a Selke? I have to look that up. But long story short, a guy that's won a lot of awards in the NHL, and he doesn't want to be here to collect a paycheck. He wants to be here to help this team win. And if there's younger players that see a guy like that that's already kind of done it all in this league, go out, and he's still working with coaches to improve areas of his game, or he's still, the first one in and out of the weight room every day, where he's working on, improving himself as much as he is trying to vibe with this team. That kind of energy is contagious. And that's going to help young players like Luke Evangelista be like, man, this guy has played at a high level and knows what it takes to keep himself there. This is a guy that I want to emulate. Like, think about it. Like, if you're trying to, get in shape other than drinking AG1, which you should, if you're trying to get in shape, if you're trying to get healthy, you are searching the internet and looking at workout plans. Maybe you're looking at like celebrity workout plans. If you want like that Chris Pratt body, you're going to look up like, hey, what does Chris Pratt eat in a day? What's his, exercise routine? Insert any celebrity you want into that sentence, but, you're going to try to emulate the stuff or the person you kind of want to be like or look like. That's like that for the pros too. Like you want to look at a player that, you want to kind of emulate. And Ryan O'Reilly is certainly a good player for young players to emulate. And you're going to emulate him by doing what he does, like follow his routines, do what he does. And so if Ryan O'Reilly goes in here with that same sort of attitude and really hits the process each and every day, that's something that can rub off on some of these young players and help them get their own routines going. In terms of on ice play, I've said this before. I think Ryan O'Reilly is the perfect fit for where the Nashville Predators are right now for a couple of different reasons. One is because he is a bit of a jackknife, a do-it-all type of player. And I think more so than a guy like, Matt Duchene or Ryan Johansson. This is a guy that you can put in difficult situations and expect them to thrive. He talked about defense. That's certainly a big part of this game. And that's important because there are some young, gung-ho Predators forwards who need sort of a defensive presence on their line. Because they're still developing their two-way games, and having somebody like O'Reilly can help free them up to go out and, maybe make some defensive mistakes, but also trying to sell out because they have somebody that they know is going to have their back. And I think that's an important thing, and that's going to build confidence for guys like Evangelista and Tomasino. He's also a guy that you can play pretty much everywhere. Like we talked about it yesterday when we did our lines. Like Ryan O'Reilly could very well be the Predators' first line center next year. He can also be the second or third line center and kind of shore up the middle of the lineup. And if wherever he is, he's not going to be out of place. He's not going to look, quote unquote, overpaid or anything like that. He's perfect because he is going to deliver exactly what you need him to, which is responsible two-way play from wherever you put him in the lineup. He's somebody that you can put on the power play. He can be the first penalty killing forward on the ice when the team is shorthanded. This is a guy that's literally, kind of a Swiss Army knife. And that's the type of player the Predators need right now because they are still figuring things out with their roster. They are trying to figure out which players may fit long-term and which are not. So when you have somebody like O'Reilly locked in for 4 years, that you're not going to have to worry about where they are in the lineup. You're going to get good minutes from them regardless. That's perfect. And that's going to help, Andrew Burnett and Barry Trotz do a lot of different things with the organization. So I really like what Ryan O'Reilly brings. In my mind, the Predators' best offseason move by far was bringing him in. And no, I don't even hate the 4-year contract that much as maybe some other pundits for the Nashville Predators do. In just a second, we are going to be talking about the 3 NHL teams that I think have improved the most this offseason already. But before we do that, I want to let you guys know that we are going to be doing a mailbag episode next week on the Locked On Predators podcast. There have certainly been a lot of changes so far for the team, and we want to get your thoughts on that. If you have opinions, if you have questions, let us know. Tweet us at LO_Predators or leave a comment on one of our YouTube pages or YouTube videos, I should say. We're going to be going through our favorite ones next week and giving our responses live on air. So if you got questions or comments, send them in. We'd love to hear it. All right, so it has been a busy NHL offseason for the Preds, but there have been some other teams out there that have made some moves as well. So I want to talk about today the 3 teams that I think have improved the most across the NHL this summer. Number 1, and these aren't in any particular order, but the team I want to highlight, the Carolina Hurricanes. Number 1, they're a winner alone because it sounds like that Tony DeAngelo deal might not happen. So that saves them a bunch of headaches. But you look at Carolina behind Boston was probably maybe the best team in the entire NHL over the course of the season. And a lot of people forget they outplayed the Florida Panthers for most of those games, even though they got swept. They just ran into a Sergei Bobrovsky-sized wall. And this is a team that somehow got better. The best defenseman on the market by far was Dmitry Orlov. Hurricanes got him for 1 year. He is, I think, the fourth or fifth top line quality defenseman that they have on that team now. They're already one of the best defenses in the NHL, and they're going to get even better on the blue line that year, and that should scare a lot of teams. Michael Bunting, that's another interesting player. This is a guy that scored 20 goals with the Toronto Maple Leafs a couple of different times. And what's more, he brings a little bit of a different element to that forward group. Somebody that's a little grittier, somebody who forechecks a little stronger. That's sort of a good dimension to have. You also brought back, a lot of key players like Jesper Fast, Freddie Anderson, Antti Ranta. I was surprised because I thought they were going to give Chekhov a chance in goal. But this is something that I think, the Hurricanes are stockpiling some really good talent, and I'm excited to see them next year. If Andrei Svechnikov stays healthy, which that is going to be a big addition to the start of next year's team too, their best player coming back healthy. That's a team that I think can really make some noise in the NHL. Number 2. And this is one that I think is going to confuse people a little bit. The Toronto Maple Leafs, because a lot of people have this as a free agency loser, mostly because they gave Ryan Reeves a 3-year contract, which, yep, sure, from a hockey standpoint, questionable. But you also have to like what they did up front. And that is bringing in Max Domi and Tyler Bertuzzi on 1-year deals. Tyler Bertuzzi arguably might have been the best forward on the free agent market. And what he does a little bit differently than maybe, long story short, I think he's a guy that does things differently than somebody like Austin Matthews or William Nylander or John Tavares. We talked about the Leafs still being quote unquote pushed around. And unlike Ryan Reeves, who's going to be the punchy part of don't push us around anymore, Tyler Bertuzzi is going to be the play part of that. He's going to be the on ice part of you can't push us around. He is a very physical player. Somebody that, can take hits, but still keep playing. Somebody that can fight back when somebody gets in his face. But what's different from him, as opposed to a Ryan Reeves, who just likes to punch people, is Tyler Bertuzzi can play. And, we mentioned he can take hits. He'll take a hit, maintain puck possession, and then make a good scoring play. He is somebody that gets into dirty areas to win puck battles. That was something that a lot of people criticize the Maple Leafs for last year, was their inability to kind of get in dirty spaces and win puck battles. They were getting, out-muscled. Tyler Bertuzzi helps with that. And then you have Max Domi, who does something along those same lines. He's more of a third line player, but and more, I guess a pest is the right word to say. But you watched what he did in Dallas at the end of last year, and he can give you 14, 15 really quality, good two-way minutes each and every game. That's somebody that is going to help, the Toronto forward core add some depth behind guys like Matthews and Marner and all those people. And yeah, they did lose Michael Bunting, but I would have to say Bertuzzi's probably an upgrade from Bunting, and you're adding a good piece in Max Domi in the middle of the lineup. Losing Ryan O'Reilly hurts, but I think they were going to lose him anyway. And I also don't hate John Klingberg on the blue line. I know he was really bad last year, but he should be with some better defensive people than, I don't know, let's say the entire Anaheim Ducks roster. So I don't think it's out of the question that we see a bounce back year from him too. My last winner, and if you listen to this podcast, you probably know how giddy I am this one. I have the Detroit Red Wings as a big winner. Alex DeBrincat alone would have been a pretty good get this offseason for Steve Yzerman and company. He's that elusive goal scorer that the Red Wings have chased for a very long time. And they didn't give up a ton to get him. They gave up a first-round pick in a draft in which they had 2 first-round picks. They gave up a, Dominic Kubalik, who was a free agent, middle 6 player they signed last year. They gave up, a young, good defense prospect by the name of Donovan Sabrango, but they already have a ton of players, in the pipeline. They didn't have to give up a lot to get him. And even beyond DeBrincat, they bring in JT Compher, who is a perfect middle 6 center, somebody that does a lot of two-way responsibilities, but is also skilled enough to play higher than, maybe the second or third line. You bring in guys like Christian Fischer, a very good bottom 6 player, a guy like Daniel Sprong, who had 20 goals for the Kraken last year. Guys like Shane Gostisbehere on the blue line. Blue line depth was a big concern. Gostisbehere is a good puck handling defenseman, and Justin Holl, somebody who is, kind of another underrated second or third line defenseman that's going to fill in some of that depth behind Mo Seider until guys like William Wallinder and Simon Edvinsson can get up there. So, that's a pretty good haul for Detroit. They haven't made the playoffs since 2016. That's going to be kind of the big question is, are they good enough to beat some of these other teams and get into the playoffs? That still kind of feels like the X factor, but I don't think anybody can say they haven't improved. And I think that is a big thing for the Detroit Red Wings. I think they have taken a big step forward in terms of talent. And I'm kind of excited to see what they do this offseason. Should be interesting. Let us know your thoughts on any NHL teams that you think took a big step forward as well. You can tweet those at LO_Predators or leave a comment on this video. As for me, you can find my work at penaltyboxradio.com. Follow me on Twitter at _NSMorgan or on Threads at NSMorgan. Also, be sure to give my partner in crime, Ann Kimmel, a follow. You can see her work at InsideThePreds.com or on Twitter at _MamaOnIce. That's going to do it for us on today's Locked On Predators podcast. Thank you so much for making us your first listen of the day. We will be back Monday with all new episodes. We'll see you then.